Welcome to the Wake.Show. As everybody knows, a show needs an intro. This is that intro. Fisher in the foreground, Sam in the back. Stuff you should know. And no pictures of my dogs, of the Wake.Pups today. Oh, you sounded like Joey. That little sounded like Joey. Good morning, everybody. Let's make sure our sound is working. That's the first thing we'll need. Blake, Sherry, Joey, Robert, just confirmed that you can hear us every day. I just want to make sure. Check. Test 1 2 1 2. Good morning and welcome back from the weekend. And Chris McCarty not here today. Monday, his day off. He may try to come back again tomorrow. But a good week of shows last week. How are you doing this morning, Sam?
I'm okay. I have a sinus infection.
Oh, I can hear it. Oh, no. And you got it confirmed that it is a sinus infection?
Yes.
Not just a little stuffy. So you're...
I'm on antibiotics.
The Z-Pack going or something
else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Did you take any of those, I want to call them uppers, those things with the D in it, like Claritin D or something like that this morning?
I'm taking Zyrtec, Tylenol, and an antibiotic.
So are you feeling a little drowsy then?
A little bit. Not too bad. It's just the whole head. Whole head fog.
Joey, good morning. Welcome. He's got his UFO out of the shop, and everybody believes you now because Buzz Aldrin has finally passed a lie detector test. Also, good morning to everybody from Single Source Insurance. Thank you so much for being a sponsor of the show. For those of you that are looking, I guess they take care of everything in the personal category, also a commercial as well. Mm-hmm. And, so you're looking to get your cars, your vehicles covered, your house and stuff like that.
They're a one-stop insurance shop.
There you go.
Yep.
Single Source Insurance. Thank you so much for being a part of the Wake.Show. There we go. Let's give you your proper due and get the logo right there on my forehead. Yeah, that is solid right there. Well done and welcome to the show. Tim Gardner, it's been a long time. I hope all is well, sir, in your world. Make sure you leave comments below. Share if you could. Likes, those are all awesome. Mm-hmm. We push this out. We start from we're building the community here right from my personal Facebook page and then push it out from there to the Wake.Show's professional page, also Periscope on Twitter, and YouTube as well if you want to subscribe to the Wake.Show. And if you're searching, I don't know when we will get to the top of things. I don't know how that works. But when you're searching the Wake.Show on YouTube, put my last name Fisher, like the Wake.Show with Fisher, and it pops right up immediately. Otherwise, I guess there's a few Wake shows out there that will
imposters.
Those bastards. Well, I think they were here first.
They were here first.
All right. So before we get to on this day, I just want to give you a little highlighter of what I got coming up to touch on. And stuff you should know. And that is going to be on this day. Well, we'll get to on this day, that UFO lie detector thing. Like I was just saying, Joey, Buzz Aldrin and 3 other astronauts have taken a lie detector test. Topless protester goes after Bill Cosby. Did you guys see the story this morning? The firework. It looks like a fireworks diversion at a mall to get everybody frantically, scrambling while they try to rob a jewelry store. So we'll get to that. The Boston Marathon. What do you guys think about this? I'm a very open-minded person. I want everybody to live as happy a life as they possibly can. Get a little bit of elbow room, no matter who they are, to do their thing. But what do you guys think about this when it comes to competing in sports? Because the Boston Marathon is saying. And we'll get to this story. The Boston Marathon is saying, listen, you specify whoever you are, and that's what class we're going to put you in. So I know this is not politically correct to say, but men who feel like they are women can now compete against other women in the Boston Marathon. We'll come back to that story. Also, LSD microdosing. I don't know if you guys, how much you've read on this over the past few years, but a lot of interesting stuff out with psilocybin and psychedelics. And what they call microdosing, which is taking such small amounts that it would not, you're not going, ooh, look at all the colors, whatever. But I guess it just does enough to your brain where there looks like there might be positive effects to that, especially for those people who are suffering from various mental illnesses. So we'll get to that coming up on the show. Tony Robbins. Did you see this one this morning, Sam? Yeah.
I didn't.
A woman confronts Tony Robbins at one of his things, and it had to do with Me Too, and he failed that test. He got a little defensive, and he starts talking about how he was just talking to a friend of his, and then afterwards says he's had a dozen men tell him the same story, which is complete bullshit.
Yeah.
He's had one or two, and he's thought of it himself, so it's a dozen men.
Of course.
But basically, saying that people are using the Me Too movement to feel significant. Hashtag Me Too. You're just doing it to feel significant.
Huh.
And then he goes on to say how men can't even hire hot women anymore because it's too risky. He said that night or the day before, one of his good friends, high-powered professional billionaire or millionaire, whatever, he tells the story that he interviewed 3 people, 2 men and a woman. The woman was more qualified, but he went with one of the men because it was too risky to hire this woman because she was so hot. And this woman's trying to say, well, that's on you. That's on your buddy. That's on guys like you that when they're around something with curves, they no longer can use their brains to forward their company's agenda or their organization's agenda. Their brain now goes to, how do I mount this thing? How do I get this thing in front of me to submit to me? And so she's saying you're doing it. She did it so calmly too. She's like, listen, I'm a fan. You are a very smart man. You bring a lot to the table, but you are doing a disservice right now to the entire Me Too movement. So we'll come back to that. And if you want, since Joey and Roxy are not here today, if you want to track down the latest, I haven't even checked this morning to see what Roxy posted.
Oh, no.
To see what Roxy posted, go to Instagram and track down the Wake.Pups. I'd say go to the Instagram and track down the Wake.Show, but I never post shit. And I know that's not good considering I'm trying to make a living off the internet and social media now. So go to the Wake.Pups and track down Roxy and Joey and whatever they did over the weekend. So when did you feel this come on, the sinus infection?
Probably Thursday I started to feel it, but I was like, oh, my allergies have been really bad the last couple of weeks. Probably nothing. And then on Friday, I was starting to get like congestion. I'm like, here we go.
Yeah, here it comes.
Saturday, I took some. Interesting story. I accidentally drugged myself with medicine and alcohol. Accidentally. It was honestly an accident, and it's kind of funny because my boyfriend was like, well, now you know what the rappers feel like taking,
Syrup.
Yeah.
Is that what it,
or well, that's not what I had. I didn't have like.
So you poured a bunch of NyQuil into, what is it? Codeine or whatever it is?
Yeah, it's like NyQuil and other stuff. I don't know. But right. I took this it was like over the counter, but it was like this extreme nighttime sinus medicine. And I was like, oh, it's fine. This is all we have. It was just the 2 pills. It wasn't actual syrup. And I guess it has that sleep aid in it, but I didn't realize. And I went out with some friends and had 2 margaritas.
Oh,
but I was like, oh, this is like, I genuinely didn't like think about it. I was like, oh, I'll be fine, whatever. But I think because the sleep agent's in there and I didn't go to sleep and I had those 2 drinks, they were pretty strong. Like they did have a good amount of tequila in them. I started to feel really weird, and I looked at him and I was like, oh my God, I think I drugged myself.
That is too funny.
And the entire night, like, it was terrible. Like it wasn't from the alcohol because I only had those 2 drinks, and he had to take care of me. Like, sure. I was literally like, I couldn't remember part of the night when I woke up on Sunday. Like, it was scary.
I hope your friends rolled tape at some point. By the way, that's us old timers.
So scary.
Rolling tape is us old timers version of saying hit record on your cell phone. Hope they rolled tape on you that night.
I know.
Dude, did they?
It was so scary. They were kind, but we were like just out. Yeah, we were just out like sitting, and I had to lean on my boyfriend Daniel, and he had to be like, "Are you okay?" Like, and like walk me home and stuff because I just literally was so like loopy, and I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And then yesterday I went to the doctor and got actual antibiotics for the sinus infection.
All right, good. From Byron, I remember that sexy damn radio voice. Good to see you doing your thing. Thank you, Byron. I appreciate that. All right, let's get to on this day. On this day, we start the show or get it on early on, just to set things, to remind ourselves that the news that is angering us today or tomorrow or yesterday will pass eventually, and it'll just be a side note a little footnote in history, and everything will ultimately be on this day at some point. Unless, of course, today's the last day of everything. Then I guess that's it. Where would you like to start? We will start with the headline coming from History.com. On this day in 1865, Robert E. Lee surrenders. This is, the Confederate General Robert E. Lee surrenders his 28,000 troops to the Union General Ulysses S. Grant, effectively ending of the American Civil War. Forced to abandon the Confederate capital of Richmond, blocked from joining the surviving Confederate force in North Carolina, and harassed constantly by Union cavalry, Lee had no other option. You know, it's funny because you fast forward 100 and something years as a kid that was born in the 70s, raised on the television of the 80s, the General Lee is a car. It's a car that the Dukes of Hazzard drove. And you know, as we figure out every single day, we know nothing about our own history. The Civil War, the Civil Rights Movement, the Revolutionary War, everything in between. We don't seem to know enough about our own history. I was scanning through this earlier. Didn't see a lot on this on this day.
First astronauts introduced.
Yeah. I saw that somebody else also surrendered on this day, I think. So we had Robert E. Lee surrendered on this day. I guess Confederate General Lee. It's the same person. And where did you see where'd the astronauts one go?
General interest, 1959. A little bit up.
The first astronauts introduced on this day, which will be a perfect segue into our first story of the day, and that is there are astronauts. There are UFOs. Buzz Aldrin has confirmed via a lie detector test. So we'll come back to that. But on this day in 1959, do you think you'll recognize one of these names, Sam?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see. On this day, they introduced the first astronauts, 1959. NASA introduces America's first astronauts to the press. Scott Carpenter. You tell me when you've heard one of these names, okay?
Okay.
Scott Carpenter. L. Gordon Cooper. John Glenn. All right. You've heard of all these so far?
No, I haven't heard of those three, but I have.
You've heard of John Glenn?
I've heard of, maybe I have. I've heard of the Gus one. I've heard of Gus Grissom.
Virgil Gus Grissom.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Walter Shearer Jr.
Nope.
Alan Shepard.
That kind of sounds familiar, but I'm not sure.
And Donald Slayton. So out of those, the only three that
John Glenn, I'm sure I have heard of.
You know John Glenn.
Yeah.
Look up John Glenn real quickly and you'll recognize
I'm sure.
him. Soon.
Yeah.
He's one of the more famous ones that came out.
Alan Shepard, I've heard of.
Glenn Shepard and Grissom are the only three that I recognize.
I know this guy. John Glenn. I know who he is.
I guess for those of you that are watching, I might as well pull it up for you as well. Just in case you're trying to figure out which one it is.
Yes, I recognize his face.
There you go. But we'll get to Buzz Aldrin first in the news after we get through with On This Day. And let's see. On this day in 1962, Sophia Loren wins Best Actress Oscar for Two Women. Mark Twain received steamboat pilot's license on this day in 1859.
Congratulations.
On this day in 1881, Billy the Kid convicted of murder.
Oh, man.
On this day in 1881.
The Old West.
Yeah. And there you go. Germany invades Norway and Denmark on this day in 1940. U.S. surrenders in Bataan on this day in 1942. On this day. Thank you so much for being a part of On This Day today.
Yes.
All right. What is your quote of the day?
Find something you're passionate about and keep tremendously interested in it.
I love it. Love that.
Julia Childs.
I love that. So this morning, went back to the brain IT guy.
Yeah, how did that go?
First of all, I was very late. And one of the things I wanted to talk to him about is how I'm always late. So I guess it was a good segue.
Yeah.
It was a good segue to what we wanted to talk about. But coming from South St. Pete all the way to Tampa today was 1 hour. Now, normally that drive would be about 35 minutes at 7:30 in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, 7:30 in the morning. But it was an hour today. So I got there at 8:30. And I don't know. I know it's only the second one, Sam, second time, but I'm already not feeling this guy.
Okay, why is that?
It's more, I think that's why I'm using feel. It's more like a gut thing. I'm just not feeling this guy.
Okay.
Because I even got a little worked up this morning too. We didn't have a lot of time to talk, but so I brought up how I'm always, I'm never on time, and it really bothers me. But I don't. So if it really bothers you, why don't you do something about it? Yeah, I know. How I have impulse control issues, but going through drive-throughs and eating like shit when I really don't want to. Well, just put it down. If you can pick up the fork, you can put it down. It's all on you, man. And so he starts talking about consequences, like, well, there haven't been enough consequences in your life to force you to do certain things. Because I told him, I go, okay, well, where does it? This is where I started getting worked up. I go, okay. So, because to me, I'll immediately registered that it was almost like this guy just said.
That's very negative, though.
It was almost like in that moment, this guy said, you weren't beat enough as a kid. Your parents didn't discipline you enough.
Yeah, that's a very weirdly negative response from him.
So let's put single source insurance back on my forehead. There we go. Let's put it right there.
No negativity there, just
That's
positivity.
Right. I want to call them and get them on the show too, because I'm very excited that we have somebody who believes in us like this to go, hey, listen, man, why don't you guys just put our logo on your show for the first 15 minutes of every show. And we'd love to be a part of that. We see what you guys are doing over here. We love what you got going on in the comment section, the people that are joining every single day. So I'd love to get them in here and just learn a little bit more about single source insurance as I put their logo on my forehead there. Mm-hmm. So I got a little annoyed because I go, well, okay, well then where? And it wasn't necessarily just at him either, because this annoys me about me. I go, all right, well then what do the consequences have to be? Do you know how many times I've been arrested? And now arrested because I let my tag expire. And I've let my tag expire to the point where I get pulled over and get a ticket. I don't know how many times in my life. I don't know how many times. 10, maybe? Something like that. I don't know. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I don't know. It's been a lot. And out of those times, when I let my tag expire and then I get a ticket, that sucks, right?
Yeah.
Well, then I won't pay that. And so the next thing you know, I'm getting pulled over again, and that's when I get arrested because I didn't pay my ticket, and now, however that works, right? Good morning, Danielle. So I'll be in front of a judge, and I have to pay all these fines. I feel like a piece of shit in that moment. So I go, okay, if it's about consequences, so that wasn't good enough. Maybe if they sent me to prison for long enough, I'd finally learn my... So I guess I started getting combative with the therapist this morning. His name is Dr. John Toms here in Tampa, or Tom Johns. I don't know. Tommy John? No, I wish... If my doctor was Tommy John, that'd be pretty cool. So yeah, this might be it. I have one more. This was my second, but you have to gel with the guy. I'm not saying that he's not right or he's not on, but you have to gel with the person. You have to feel like you guys are the same page. And this morning I felt like somebody was just telling me, you're just not disciplined enough and someone should have beat you more.
Right.
That's not what he said at all.
But
not what he said at all.
To this guy's credit, now that we've said his name, he might just not be right for you.
Right.
Not to discredit him as a therapist or a doctor, because we did say his name now. So
because I do, I've been through enough therapists now over the years. I think might be my 6th one over the last 10 years, where that is 100% accurate. For those of you that have never gone down that path, but you're tired of whatever's going on in your head, you don't feel like you're the same person you were, and you want to kind of talk it out. It does suck because that guy could be really good for somebody else,
right?
Really good for you, but maybe not that good for me.
And that's fine.
Yeah. So
you should definitely try talking to.
I want to do the art people. Yes, I think that's. I want to try that art therapy, which what she's referencing, in case you don't know, is
accelerated resolution therapy.
Yeah, and their specialty has to do with PTSD mainly, from what I gather, and it's some kind of a little. It's not just sitting there talking to somebody about whatever. They do some stuff and make you like focus on my hand and do this and that, and they're tricking they're making your brain fire a certain way to undo certain things and da 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 da.
Yeah, but it's an evidence-based therapy. Yeah, it treats PTSD, different anxieties.
What the hell is that? What the hell
depression.
What does evidence-based therapy mean?
the people they started this over at USF from what I understand, and they've all researched this, and there's different therapists that are master clinicians, and they train other therapists to mainly help out veterans, but also people who are just suffering from like anxiety and depression and PTSD. So it's just a different type of therapy where it's not actually talking. So I think you should try it.
And then the session ended with basically what you've been joking about. Your quote of the day for the past week or two.
Oh my gosh, no way.
Yes.
He said do your best today?
Yes.
No way.
And not the exact words, but basically, you know, do your best. Just do your best. Then all of a sudden Jimmy Eat World's just do your best.
He said do your best.
It was not those exact words, but I can't remember exactly what it was he said, but when he said it, whatever it was he said, it was that category.
You're like, oh my God, you're right.
Yeah, so maybe the universe just tell me, listen, bud, quit beating yourself up over all the things that you don't seem to be able to handle in your life, like being on time or, you know, paying bills or making phone calls or sending emails, you know, the basic stuff. And because I even said to him this morning, I go, you know, I think I might only be capable of one thing in my entire I might only have one personality trait, and that is I can communicate en masse. I can connect.
But that's very valuable because a lot of people don't have that personality trait.
Yeah, you're right.
It's very valuable.
But if you can't cover the fundamentals, the basics of just taking care of yourself, then that's not going to go too far, you know?
That's true.
So,
but you have to recognize that you do have a special quality that a lot of people are so anxious about. Like people just talking to other people one-on-one. Like you have a very good communicative personality. Well,
thank you. Maybe we should come in here every morning. Yeah. Before the show, we'll fire up things on a Monday morning, and we'll just
do a live therapy session.
Do a live therapy session.
Hey, you feel more comfortable talking on camera anyway.
Oh, that's exactly what my wife just texted me.
What'd she say?
Literally, she goes, oh no, Lauren goes, see, I could be your therapist. That's what she said.
Yeah.
Because that's basically what Lauren says to me too. She just yells at me about something because she doesn't understand why I do what I do. And then we move on. All right, so that's enough about that right now. Let's get to some of the things that we have in stuff you should know. And thank you once again. There we go. Thank you so much, Single Source Insurance, for being a part of the Wake.Show. We really appreciate your support on that. All right, let's get to stuff you should know. Oh, you got to go. You're out.
Yep, I'm out.
All right. You believe in UFOs before we go?
Do I believe in UFOs? Is that what you said? Yeah. I do. I think that they exist.
Awesome.
I've never seen one, but I definitely believe that people have seen them. You got to believe in stuff like that. Come on.
Well, the thing is, there's no doubt in my mind that there's other intelligence.
There's definitely other stuff out there,
right,
for sure.
There's no doubt in my mind. But the big question is whether or not it is visiting us.
That's true.
You know? Yeah. And then, of course, if there is, then why? Why are you just
laugh at us?
For entertainment purposes?
Probably. Their own reality TV.
Maybe sometimes. Maybe they're plugged into all of our technology so that anytime they could turn on anything and just watch you and listen to you.
What if aliens are watching this right now? I'll leave you with that.
All right. Well, if aliens are watching this right now, I'm still waiting for you. I'm still waiting for you to beam me to another galaxy where you obviously need help taking down some evil armada, and you've been watching my video game playing. I don't remember. Bye, Sam.
Bye.
Most of us can't take care of ourselves. That's why we get married. That's right, Steve. and I'm so glad if I didn't have the wife that I don't know. Thank you, Lauren, for all that you do to make sure that I don't ruin our finances. All right, well, let's get to some stuff you should know this morning and chime in because it's just you and me for the rest of the morning. I don't have any guests coming in today. Chris is not. He's taking the day off. He's relaxing. And because I had my therapy session this morning, I didn't bring in Roxy and Joey to help me through the show. So it's just you and me. So let's start with UFOs. UFOs. All right, I would imagine that most of you are like me. You can easily rationalize that there's likely other sentience, other intelligence out there in the universe. But the question is, do you believe that it's tapped into us, that it comes down here, even if it's just for observation, or they're mining something, whatever it is. They avoid us for the most part, do their thing, get in and get out, while we're sitting there going, what just happened? What just happened? So where do you stand on that? Do you think we've ever been visited? Or in the next level, not only visited, but they're coming on a very regular basis, because Buzz Aldrin believes so. And a moonwalker, Buzz Aldrin, and 3 other astronauts have passed lie detector tests over claims they experienced alien encounters. All 4 astronauts taking part passed the test carried out using the latest technology. Now, granted, this is coming from the Daily Star out of the UK, so, take it for whatever it's worth. Experts say the results prove they were completely convinced signs of alien life they claimed to have witnessed during historic missions were genuine. This was Aldrin, Al Worden, Edgar Mitchell, and Gordon Cooper all took part in the study. Excuse me. The Institute of Bioacoustic Biology in Albany carried out this. Well, here's the thing. All lie detector tests can prove is that you believe what you're saying. All right? That you're not lying about what you're saying. But it doesn't believe they saw, it doesn't prove that they saw what they thought they saw. I would love to believe it. I would love to believe it. I would love to believe that, we've been visited for quite some time and they keep popping in but then you go, why? Then for what? And that's when you can have fun. That's when the imagination can go wild, and it's everything from the planet Earth is a zoo, an intergalactic zoo. And so what we're seeing are the UFOs. These other space aliens are like scientists, and they're observing and doing, doing some research here and there on us with the old, I don't know what the probe up the old boop has to do with anything, but it seems to be a common, seems to be common. I guess you get a lot of information coming out of that, that part of your body. There's a lot of information that you can learn about things. So one of the first tested was Apollo 11 pilot Buzz Aldrin, now 88, the second human to set foot on the lunar surface in 1969. Aldrin has always maintained he spotted a UFO on the way to the moon, saying there was something out there that was close enough to be observed, sort of L-shaped. Big Acoustics' Sherry Edwards said tests reveal that Aldrin is sure he saw the UFO, even though his logical mind cannot explain it. Apollo 15 pilot Al Worden, 86, stunned Good Morning Britain's viewers when he claimed to have seen extraterrestrials. He believes we are all descended from ancient aliens. Voice recordings of fellow NASA pioneers Edgar Mitchell and Gordon Cooper, both now dead, were also analyzed. Apollo 14's Mitchell claimed to have seen several UFOs, while Cooper actually described trying to chase a cluster of objects. The test revealed both men believed they were telling the truth the whole time. That I don't doubt that at all. But I just find it hard to believe. I really do. I want to believe it. I just find it hard to believe for one main reason, and that is it's difficult to traverse the universe. So whatever is visiting us is likely has figured out that little, the slit in the space-time where you can bring 2 points of the universe together, and as you get in one side, you come out the other side like that or close to that. So you can get halfway across the universe in an instant or a very short period of time versus getting up too close to the speed of light and then staying there for 20,000, 50,000, a million years, 10 billion years, depending on where you are in the universe. So first, they'd have to get over that. They'd have to master that technology. So let's say they did. Well, then they're likely more than just a few hundred years more advanced than we are. And maybe if a million years, if you were to weigh it out, they're like a million years more advanced, then I can see them being able to get in and get out, hardly be detected or detected just enough so it just causes confusion amongst us and with nothing definitive. Some people believe that the governments know, that the governments around the world know, and they keep that kind of information to themselves for different reasons. One, they've already been in contact with the aliens, and that stuff they feel is the best thing, the best way to handle this. Two, it is a lot of people feel like if this information was ever proven, it would just send the entire world into disarray. No. Parts, some, yes, but not the. I think a lot of the world would go, Oh, okay. All right. This is starting to make more sense now. Now what do we do? Of course, I guess then at that point we'd be really nervous that they'd get ready to take everything. But if they were going to do that, they probably already would have. So, UFOs. It's never a question about whether or not something else exists out there. It's just whether or not it's made its way to here and then doing whatever it's doing without disrupting too much here on the planet. Brings us to our next story. And it's not that. Let's do that. Next story. Black Panther passes Titanic at the box office. This is big. Did you guys, anybody watch SNL on Saturday night? The lead actor was on SNL 2 months after the film came out. I don't know why he wasn't there within the first couple of weeks. It was a decent episode. It was all right. Cardi B was also on. I don't know if you're a fan of Cardi B or not, but there was a funny bit with one of the cast members, 80, and it was an 80B. So basically, she's in casual conversation. This little, sweet little white girl's in casual conversation. And somebody says something, all of a sudden she breaks off some like what would sound like a badass Cardi B lyric. Get all aggro for a second, if that's even a term people use anymore, and then move on. It was a funny bit. I'm not going to try to describe the whole thing. Just if you're a fan, watch. I don't know. The first thing that jumped out at me when I saw the Black Panther surpasses Titanic, I was like, because Titanic is kind of almost like one of the most lily white. If you were to to break those things up into black movies, white movies, and Titanic might be the whitest of those movies that are up there in the as far as box office hits. And so to see Black Panther leapfrog that, good for Black Panther. Now, I don't know if it's when they do these kind of stories, do they adjust for inflation? Because if they do, that's something. If they're not adjusting for inflation, well, then it's not that big of a deal. Ticket prices are from some cineplexes, 5 times what they were back then. Good morning, Jason, Cheryl, Shane. How you doing, Mr. Bailey? Hope all is well. All right, up next. Now we get to the toplessness. Topless protester. I know you want pictures. I know. A woman chanting "Women's Lives Matters" with statements and names that appear to match victims scrawled on her body jumped a barricade, then charged in front of a Bill Cosby as the comic arrived to the Montgomery County Courthouse for the start of his retrial on sex assault charges this morning. The unidentified woman ran in front of Cosby toward a bank of TV cameras, but was intercepted by the sheriffs. There she is. There you go. There's your top. That's the only picture you get. Little black bar across. The disruption came ahead of opening statements, which were delayed while the judge sorted through allegations raised late Friday that a jury told a woman during the jury selection that he thought Cosby was guilty. Cosby's lawyer wants the juror removed from the case. So, it's hard for me to understand topless protesting. I guess it's pretty simple, though. If you go topless, you're going to get some coverage. You're going to get noticed, I think, is the only thing that makes sense to me. If you run around with your boobs hanging out, you're not going to get noticed. People aren't going to go, oh, there's another person with their boobs out. Everybody will be looking. So good for her. Good for her. Next up, I don't want to call criminal, activity genius or anything. Unless it's like supervillain stuff and it's in the movies. But this is coming out of Florida. 11 heard as fireworks go off as a distraction for a Florida jewelry store robbery. And this is funny because in the last few months, there's been a couple of these. Remember, was it the Florida Mall where Joey Fatone opened up Fat Ones hot dogs, and they were doing like the grand opening for that, and some balloons popped, and so people scattered. And then there was something else, and I don't remember if it was balloons or something else. The same kind of thing. People thought somebody was shooting up a mall, but it wasn't. So now I guess some people are watching. Goes, I wonder if we could use this to our advantage. So this was about 5:45 in the afternoon, again at the Florida Mall. Oh, here we go. Panic and fear erupted at a Florida mall on Sunday afternoon that what sounded like gunfire. It happened around 5:45. Hundreds of people ran from the building after hearing multiple bangs. Police said it wasn't gunfire, but fireworks set off as a distraction in an attempted jewelry store theft. 11 people were injured while attempting to flee. 6 refused treatment and 5 were transported to local hospitals. Mall operations quickly returned to normal. The incident is under investigation. So I guess they didn't get away with it. Those kids didn't get away with it. This next one is, like I was talking about earlier in the show, and this is we're going to be talking about the Boston Marathon now. And most people want to see people live a happy life. whatever drives you, find your little sliver of paradise and live happily ever after. That includes transsexuals and whatever they're going through in their head that most of us can't relate to. But in trying to accommodate, it's set up for some interesting discussions, one of which has to do with competition, physical competition. And the Boston Marathon has okayed trans runners, and organizers welcome, quote, people as they specify. So, if you were born a man, but you do not feel like you are a man, and you're now a woman, the Boston Marathon is going to let you compete with other women. Let's see, how do you have this conversation by yourself without sounding like a jerk? I don't know that you can. Because I mean it. I mean it when I say that I want trans people to be able to, those who are trans, to live a life without, as peacefully as they can. But you can't allow this. You can't allow men to walk into women's sporting events and compete. Because in the end, there's no competition. Settle down. I know. You take any one of those women and they can outrun me. You're right. I was at Iron Girl this weekend. I didn't MC. I was the race announcer. And as a matter of fact, there was somebody who crossed the finish line that, and I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not going to pull up a picture of the person or anything like that. But I think a man who was dressed like a woman, raced. Did not win at all. Didn't even come close. But if you take the top female athletes, the top male athletes in the world, and marathon runners, and have them compete, well, it's not a competition. And so I don't get it. Maybe you can help me understand a little bit more. Maybe I'm seeing this all wrong, but I don't understand how the Boston Marathon can go, well, sure, you can compete in the women's division and be eligible for all the women prizing, even though you're not a woman. But I specify as a woman. Okay, well, good for you, ma'am. But you still can't compete against all the other women that are out there. The other way around, sure. Knock yourself out. Is that hypocritical? I don't think so. If you were born a female, you think you're making that transition, or if you made that transition, you're a man. Now you want to go compete against other men, go knock yourself out. But I don't, and I also, because here's the thing, I'm sitting here and you can see my eye, you can see my brain going, am I being a hypocrite? Am I ignorant in this moment? Is there something that I don't understand? And that's why I sound like this, because you don't see me pounding my fist and go, this is what's wrong with America, the left and the right, the blah, blah, blah. No, it's not. I'm just a human being trying to, make my way through life like everybody else is. And at the same time, trying to, see if I can help make some room so other people can live their life the way they want to. But this just doesn't seem fair. It doesn't seem right. I'm also going to throw out one of those, an analogy that I've used multiple times in the radio, and I do know that it's provocative other within itself. And it's not, I'm not being provocative on purpose. This is just a thought I had. And as I'm trying to understand it's not that I'm trying to understand necessarily the specifics of what makes somebody, what's that called? Gender dysphoria, something dysphoria, where you do not, you feel like you're in the wrong body. And it's more than just a feeling. I mean, your brain's wired a certain way. The way whatever is happening, it's a real thing. I get that. It's a real thing. But here's what I don't understand. And maybe for those of you that understand mental health better than me can help me. Is if somebody, so if for trans people now, it's not considered a disorder. It's just considered that's what you are, and so we need to accommodate you for that. But it seems like if you're born with a penis and you wake up every day hating it and thinking that, and you wanting to cut it off because you feel like you are really a woman on the inside, that's in the same category as all those other disorders that are out there, things that are affecting your everyday life. But for some reason, they started to change the rules. So if you feel this way, you can. My point is this, and I know some of you heard me say this before. If I wake up every single day, I'm schizophrenic. I wake up every single day, and I truly believe that I am the president of the United States of America. They're not going to accommodate me and give me keys to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. They're going to go, hey, listen, we're sorry you feel this way. We're going to try to help you cope the best you can because we know that you think that you are the president of the United States of America every day when you wake up. But it's just not going to play out that way. So I don't understand why we're not having the same conversations with those with gender dysphoria. We're sorry. Man, let's help you cope. But unless it's much, this is a thought that I had. This is a conspiracy theory that I made up. That gender dysphoria is much a more widely spread than I know or anybody knows. And there are a lot of people in high power positions, including politicians, who, if society was a little bit differently, they'd be dressing the exact opposite sex, and they would be claiming to be the exact opposite sex. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. Otherwise, I don't understand it. And again, you can tell that I'm trying to handle this conversation with kid gloves because I don't want to offend, and I'm not one of those people that are going, are getting angry because this is just an agenda of this or the agenda of that. Or maybe it is. Maybe it was. Maybe that's how this ended up becoming the issue that it was, is because there was somebody with an agenda or a group of people saw this as an opportunity, and if they push this forward, maybe it looks like those who are against it are ignorant and they don't accept people and this and this and this, and then you end up winning politically. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. How you doing, Max Cooper? Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. I got a couple more things before we get out of here. And so we got to the topless protester, the Boston Marathon, OKs, transgender, whoever you specify. Well, we'll see how it plays out. Tony Robbins. Here's what I got left. Let's get to the microdosing first. I will save the microdosing for last because I just want to breeze through these others. Tony Robbins. Have you guys, anybody watching, ever gone to one of the Tony Robbins things? I know there's some people who are huge proponents out there, and some people that thinks he's a quack. But Tony Robbins has found himself in making controversial remarks concerning the Me Too movement. Self-help guru Tony Robbins is facing a wrath of angry Twitter mobs after critical comments he made on March 15th towards the Me Too movement that went viral over the weekend. Quote, "If you use the Me Too movement to try to get significance and certainty by attacking and destroying someone else, all you've done is basically use a drug called significance to make yourself feel good. Some of you might even be going, there's some truth to that. Okay. All right. There is some truth to that. Speaking to a very small minority of people that are a part of this movement. This is what we do. We focus on just a couple little things, blow them out of proportion. When we don't agree with them, it doesn't align to something that the way we see things. Then you pick out the anomalies, those events that look ugly, or those things that look ugly, but are very low probability, and you highlight those. See, these people always do that. I'm gonna read that again, because also Tony Robbins speaks like Yoda. So, if you use the Me Too movement to try to get significance and certainty by attacking, what is it? What the? Can I know it's only Monday. Is it too early to drop an F-bomb? Okay, all right. I'll hold off for a second. First of all, guru, self-help guru, what the F does that even mean? If you're using something to try to get significance and certainty, or just when you're fast talking, you like to throw out multisyllabic words and just keep moving on as people are trying to think, what did he just said? Oh, you're on to the next thing. You're on to the next thing. You've got them hooked. If you use the Me Too movement to get significance and certainty, and then all you're doing is using the drug significance. So I guess in the end, basically what he's saying is all these people, you have to be careful because there's too many people using this hashtag Me Too just to feel important, just to feel significant. And that's complete and utter bullshit. And if there are some of those that are doing that, I promise you it is not nefarious. I promise you that it's not calculated. It is a much deeper psychological thing that is driving that. So we're not even done here, because a woman presses him, and this is video, and I'm going to stop playing. I can't play videos anymore. I don't want to, because I realize that this is causing us some issues, especially on YouTube. We go to play a clip of anything just a few seconds long. YouTube is on top of it, flags it. Then we can't do anything with our video anymore, and blah, blah. There's a lot of things that happen. So I'm not going to play for you the clip. It is available online, but I'll walk you through it here. So then Robbins also tells a story of a very powerful man who passed on hiring a female candidate even though she was the most qualified because she was too attractive and would be a huge risk. I don't even know if I believe him, first of all, watching this video. He seems like in those moments he does what Trump and other politicians do. I know this guy. I was just talking, because he said I was talking to a very powerful man, I think yesterday or something like that. And he wouldn't hire. He said this guy interviewed 3 people, 2 men, 1 woman. The woman was more qualified, but he couldn't hire because of the Me Too thing, and the time is just too much of a risk. And the woman kept pressing him and said, "You are doing a disservice to the Me Too movement." And the thing is, if you watch this clip, you see Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins is one of those guys. Tony Robbins relates to the guy that has an empire that this is the way I see it. This is the way, this is just a glance. But he relates to, now he is somebody who may have difficulty controlling himself around curves, around vaginas, around boobs. That's what I see when I'm watching this. So the moment passed with little fanfare at the time, but came roaring back to public attention after viral news site Now This released a video which included an audience member. Her name was Nanine McCool. That's a cool last name. Pushed back, quote, "Certainly there are people who are using it for their own personal devices, but there are also a significant number of people who are using it not to relive whatever may have happened to them, but to make it safe for the young women so that they don't have to feel unsafe. And so that's why I don't understand when, if you're a powerful man like Tony Robbins in this moment, you don't have the acumen to see that. The reason you don't have the acumen to see that in that moment, Tony Robbins, I'll be pointed, Tony Robbins, is because you relate too much to the other side of the Me Too movement. I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe, maybe not. Like I said, I'm not going to play the encounter. At various points when Robbins spoke, he was met by jeers from audience members, many of whom spent hundreds of dollars to attend this event. Those jeers were even more ferocious online as the mob quickly descended. I'm a man, a heterosexual man. And what Tony Robbins is saying in this is the biggest pile of dog shit I've ever seen. His friend didn't hire a better qualified woman over two men because it was a risk that she was too beautiful. Get the fuck out of here. Oh, sorry about that. Drop the F-bomb. Drop the F-bomb. But it was in context. It wasn't just out of frustration. Tony should have told him to control himself. And that's the thing, is there are a lot of men, and when they're, the thing is about a lot of these guys that are very successful, that are high powered, if you were to step inside their brain, in my opinion, you would be very shocked at what you saw. And you would see something that it constantly has to dominate its environment. Like, that's a good thing, man. It's you dominate, you win, 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 win. But what that does to the brain, because I think that and sex is all, well, I know it's all tied together. And so not only if one of those guys walks into this room, he's not just walking into this room and I'm not talking about just walking in to think about how he's going to dominate me in that moment, but the brain's always going. And so when you meet some of those guys where their brain, they're constantly thinking about just dominating their environment, even though it's not that specific, it's more subtle, I think. And they'll be thinking about how they can use me. Who does Fisher know that can help me in my quest for world domination? And there's this constant thing that, well, this is my theory anyway. And the reason being is because I've met so many guys over the years that I would consider good dudes, for the most part. Nobody's perfect. But I've watched too many men try to grapple with the sex thing. Try to grapple with, every girl, every woman, everything with tits and a vagina that walks by, they cannot not ogle. They cannot not say something about it. I don't get that. Not every guy is like that, but a lot are. But what I don't want to do in this moment is to point at those guys and go, well, they're the problem. I'm talking about Harvey Weinstein and what he's alleged to do, and those who are psychopathic, manipulative rapists, for lack of a better term. All right, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about those guys that have a tendency to be at the top of industry are also the guys that have a tendency to bang every chick that comes their way, or every hot chick that they can get their hands on. Maybe that's not a true statement. Maybe I just threw something out there and it's complete and utter bullshit, just rubbish. I have a picture of things based on my own experiences that have instilled some prejudices, some bigotry in me. But I've also seen the struggle in some of these guys that I'm talking about. I'm going to use some terminology that Tony Robbins used here. Talking about, I know a guy, very powerful men, and I've watched them in front of me, not in tears, not in but just extremely flustered because they can't keep their penis in their pants. And they want to. They want to settle down, or they want to not cheat on their wife. And this all seems like bullshit. I know, especially if you're a woman, it seems like I'm trying to justify something. I'm not. what I'm trying to do is understand more and to demonize less. Understand more, demonize less. Because the more we go, those people are evil. It's though that's just and just use the most vile terminology to describe those things that we don't like, those people that we don't like. The more we just simply put them in the enemy category, and then we get to go back to our little small-minded place and get angry at those people that we've put in the enemy category. What I'd like to do is try to understand humanity more. Get to know us a little bit better. And so we understand how these things are tied together. We can guard against them. You can put systems in place to guard against that. So that a guy who, or I don't know, maybe not, maybe this is the way maybe this is the way social evolution works. Maybe this is how it works. Maybe when we look back at ancient Egypt and we can see those times when it was because they lasted, centuries and centuries and centuries. And so you can study phases. You can see those times when it was more male dominated and more aggressive times in the culture. And then and then those other times would swing the other way. And there was more peace and art and discovery and this and this and this. So maybe this is just how it happens. It just comes in waves. And so now it's been that male-dominated thing for quite some time. And now that Western civilization especially has reached a point where you don't have to scrape, a fight for every little thing, that you get to a point where then it just starts to naturally head back the other way. And the women are in control, for lack of a better term, for lack of a better way to put it. The femme, the yang. Which is yin and which is yang? The yang comes into play a little bit more. I don't know. I'm sorry. I feel like sometimes they should have more definitive answers, be more pointed, have a better direction. But I think for some of these, because they're so complicated, we're so heated, people don't seem to be on the same page, that we still have to stay in this area of discussion to just go, okay, all right. I see what he's trying to say. I don't know if it's making any sense, but I see what he's trying to say here. Maybe this stuff just forces us into our next phase of our social evolution. Going back to Tony Robbins, I never understood the appeal of Tony Robbins, and it's always shocked me how many influential and powerful people rely on his advice. If your famous pal can't trust himself and or his coworkers to behave respectfully, see, like I go to visit a guy that I know who runs a big company. And this is a few months ago, and he's sharing me some of the details of his company. He's showing off certain things. He's very proud of this, very proud of that, And then at some moment, we're sitting there talking, and one of his employees, very attractive woman, walks by, but is far enough away. And that he's in this mode of business, He's talking about this and this and this and this. And as soon as he sees her, his whole physiology, his whole body language changes. And all of a sudden, there's this kind of gutter, it just turns different. It turns animal. And then he made some comment about her, physically and whatever. I did not make a comment back, because those are the things that need to stop in the workplace. And I know you could say, well, no, you can say that he's your buddy. He's your buddy. He's saying it to a buddy, not another employee. No, it's not that that needs to stop. In those moments when the woman, when the boobs come when the curves come walking by, you have to fight that urge to look and get that moment of what, because you know what guys do all the time too. You can see it all the time. All of a sudden, we reach down and we grab our stuff for like 1 second. Like all of a sudden, there's this surge of whatever that goes coursing through us, and we just have to go, ooh, 1 second. Like, oh, wait, what were we talking about? Now, granted, a lot of that stuff gets triggered naturally, and you can't really help it. And luckily for me, I started that train of thought way back when I was a kid. So it's been a part of me all my life. But most guys aren't like that. Most guys have been trained, have been programmed to go get it, whatever you want, get it, take it, find a way to get it. And then when it turns into a competition, you can't get it, well, then they just keep going and going and going until they get it. And so, I don't know. Enough of that. Enough of that nonsense. North America's world's biggest TV addicts watching 4 hours a day. So they did some huge study about TV watching around the world, consuming content, blah, 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 blah. And North America, I guess we are sitting in front of the television or are watching Netflix on our devices over 4 hours a day. 4 hours a day. That would have been me in my 20s maybe, or early 20s or something like that. Man, I don't know. 4 hours, that's a long time. That is a lot of hours per day. But I just want to throw that out there. You know, we're in that age, and there's no big commentary here, but because I really want to get to the LSD thing, and then I have to set up for some clients afterwards. So, lastly, and this is some interesting stuff. Maybe it's more interesting to me as I'm trying to, I'm dealing and trying to tackle my, get to the bottom of my so-called mental health. And so this is these are interesting stories every time I see them. A growing consensus of professionals and athletes believe taking smaller and smarter doses of psychedelics can improve performance both in the office and on track. When I first started seeing these stories, I want to say it was 2 years ago, and they were coming out of Silicon Valley. How do these professionals were beginning almost like it was a drug. You take your anti-anxiety in the morning or your anti-depression medicine in the morning, you pop a small dose of a psychedelic. And for those of you who ever had experience with LSD or mushrooms or anything like that, you're like, what? I don't think I could function on that. You're right. On a full dose, no, but we're talking like 0.001 whatever of psilocybin. And so you can function, and it does just enough to release positive chemicals and whatever. I don't know. I don't know how much research I'm sure not a lot of research has been done on this because of the kind of drug that it is. But from heightening creativity and focus, which doesn't seem right to me, seems counterintuitive to me. From heightening creativity and focus at work to improving PBs and enhancing what the hell's PBs? I probably shouldn't ask that question out loud. PB. All right, so can we go back for a second? Back to the Me Too thing, because Sharon goes, I think that is nonsense. This is what I was spewing. It sounds like you're describing an animal. Well, I mean, do you think we're separate from animals? Do we not have the same driving forces as other primates and mammals? I'd volunteer for this research too, Max. So hallucinogenic drugs have suffered from a stigma ever since the 60s, when LSD advocate Timothy Leary popularized it as a recreational substance with the resulting dangerous doses and bad trips making headlines. But recent studies are showing psychedelics' enormous potential in treating a wide range of mental health disorders such as depression, addiction, and PTSD. That is huge. Absolutely huge. Well, those three things there, depression, that's covering, 25%, a third or more of Americans right now. PTSD, well, you have all those in the military and people that have gone through trauma, but there's also, I've been reading things where it seems like more and more of, I don't want to say normal, average, people that aren't in the military, that aren't, faced with those kind of things, are showing signs of PTSD as well. Just their day in and day out life. And then lastly, addiction. And that's where I first started reading this stuff about psilocybin, and was that it really could help with addiction. Well, then does it get you hooked on psilocybin? Who knows, my friend? Who knows? Let's see. There you go. Acid. The nature of complex hallucinations increased V1 connectivity under LSD. You see that graphic there? And so the brain on the left there, I guess, and the brain on the right. The brain on the left is not firing off the way it's supposed to. You mixed in a little bit of the LSD, a small dosage, and the connectivity in the brain increases significantly. And as drugs benefits are better understood, an alternative method of ingesting is being explored. Microdosing is what they call it. This consists of consuming only about a tenth of the recreational dosage, usually 10 to 20 micrograms, which is usually insufficient to cause any kind of visual hallucinations. Conversely, it reportedly heightens alertness, energy, and creativity. So a doctor, a professor at neuropsychopharmacology, has 40 years of experience working in this sector. Quote, people began experimenting with this in Silicon Valley about 20 years ago. We are not sure if microdosing does present any danger to mental health, but what we do know, but then we don't know if regular use is safe. It certainly warrants a lot more research, but the illegal controlled status of psychedelics unfortunately means that to do so is very difficult and expensive. My own view, if that all drugs should be decriminalized for personal use. The little research that has been done shows psychedelics and microdosing in particular present less harm both to users and others than almost any other drug, especially alcohol. The little research that has been done shows psychedelics and microdosing in particular presents less harm both to users and others than almost any other drug, especially alcohol. All right, so that's the latest on that. And Max, treating just those three problems is why research will never be possible for microdosing, because big pharma cures don't make money. Treatments do. Man, all of us that are on the proponents of getting this stuff legalized or decriminalized or put them in a different category so we can study them, this comes up a lot. And that is, there's the reason that we don't go down this path is because the pharmaceuticals don't want us to go down this path, because they want to be able to control everything to continue to make their billions upon billions upon billions upon billions of dollars. There probably is some truth to that. But I also think it's a cultural thing as well, and it's still politically, not something that most politicians want to touch. Hey, you got all these other problems. Because here's what happens politically. You come in, even if we're right on this, say you're a libertarian, you're like, all right, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Let's decriminalize this over here. Let's make that legal over there, blah, blah, blah. Well, you can't come in with that, because if you come in and start talking about the issues you're running on, you better start with the hottest issues of the day. And usually at the top of that is going to be the economy, the military, and whatever the issue du jour is. But if you come out of the box and go, listen, this is one of my big things that I want to make sure, I want to decriminalize this, and I want to change the set, you're not going to win. People are going to think that you're just some whack job that's trying to get the entire country hooked on drugs, and that'll be the downfall of civilization. And so we're just still in a weird time. We're just still in a, I know, and you're right, it's based off ignorance. And we need to do more research so we don't have that ignorance. But the ignorance stops us from doing the research. But that's going to change. That is going to change. I promise you, in our lifetime, we'll see a big difference in that. All right, Sharon, yes, you have a developed brain. Okay. All right. So we're not animals, is what you're saying? I think that's another very fundamental reason that we have some of the issues and problems that we do, is because we have a tendency to separate ourselves from nature. On the religious side, that's an obvious one. On the religious side of things, we're separate from all the other animals, that we're made special by God, and we're special. And then even on the scientific side of things, to watch scientists get excited about how special we are, how we figured out how to release the energy from the atom, to escape the gravitational pull of our own planet, to go elsewhere into space. We're so different. We're so special. I don't know. I mean, we're special. But from a certain vantage point, I look at everything and go and see its special niche. And to think that we are so superior, I think has caused, it's probably a driving force behind a lot of the issues we have, because we think as a whole we are so effing superior to everything. But in those moments, close your eyes and do this. Picture a group of people, all your friends and family and da-da-da-da. Now, have their clothes disappear. Have their makeup disappear. Have their hair, the hair that's all did, not only disappear, but grow down to the bottom of their back or even farther. Also picture all the men not shaving. No shaving anywhere. Huh. Look at that. Look at that. We're starting to look more like apes. But we can pretend. We can pretend. Throw on some clothes. Throw on a nice jacket. Good morning, brother. Have a good day, Danielle. Thank you. I know I'm rambling. I'll stop. This was, happy Monday, everybody. Have a wonderful week. We'll be back tomorrow. I don't know if Chris, I'll find out if Chris McCarty will be joining the show tomorrow, if he'll be coming in later on in the week. But really appreciate you guys here in the beginning of the Wake.Show as we get this thing, moving forward and building our community as we go. Thank you so much. Leave as many comments you can. Message me if you like. Track us down and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you prefer to watch this through YouTube. Also every day on Periscope and Twitter, you can track down the Wake.Show. Have a great day. Be good to yourself. Be good to the people around you. There's two other things. Hold on a second. Be good to yourself. Be good to the people around you. I forget the third one. And lastly, let your crazy breathe. Have a great day.